Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. What do you think? It's a very interesting question. And this particular show is devoted to providing a unique and rare answer to that question. If you're an accountant, you really need to watch this version of WowBiz Nebraska. If you're an engineer and others among you, technology people, could really use the insight and the information we're going to be sharing here, accountants and attorneys in particular. My name is Lynn Hinderaker, and I'm going to share with you information, as I said before, that is new, it's exciting, and yet it was spawned in the 60s and 70s with GE. And they had a think tank. A lot of particularly bright people would work in this area, kind of separate away from the daily operations, and they really stumbled onto something very, very large. They collaborated, a gentleman named Ned Herman. He was working with GE at the time. And he collaborated with a noted brain surgeon named Roger Sperry, Dr. Roger Sperry. This is way back now in the 60s and early 70s. And they found out, and I'm not going to tell you how this all came to be, but they basically learned that the human brain is divided not into two halves. Most of us have heard the notion of left brain, right brain. Some of us know a little bit about that. But they actually have learned that the human brain is divided into quadrants. Quadrants, there are 4 distinct segments where clusters of neurons focus. Now, there is a little bit of cross promotion, so to speak, in the brain between the different areas, but primarily these are concentrated areas of neurons in the human brain, and they do different things, and they give basically each of us a different and unique thinking style. And that thinking style has a lot to do, and if you're an HR person, you want to pay attention to the things that, the things that you pay attention to, the problems that you solve, the things that you get involved with, where you put your attention. This is all driven by these neuronal clusters or concentrations in one quadrant of your brain or the other. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. I'm going to tell you about one quadrant in particular that is so relevant for now, for this moment. And I know a certain portion of the audience of WowBiz Nebraska is going to have, there's going to be a sense of relief. They're going to feel good. You're going to feel good. But anyway, they're the left half of the brain, and by the way, they use color-coded indicators there so you can kind of know what they're talking about when they're visiting. And basically, I'll be so quick here, very superficial, but there's a section on the left half of all of our brains. Everybody has this. They call it the blue sector. And that is all about technology and numbers and details. All right? If you know anybody that's really into that and they want to just make sure everything is perfect and it all adds up, makes some sense, they're comfortable working with the machines, the copy machine, all of that. Those are people that are kind of dominated by the blue sector on the left hemisphere of their brain. The green sector, also on the left hemisphere of the brain, but actually a little bit lower in the brain, is process-oriented. As long as the process is flowing and things make sense and things are coming together and we're going from A to B to C in some kind of a sense of sequence that makes sense, that would be a different kind of person, as I said before, the green brain, so to speak. That's what they called it at that particular time. So if you're in HR, you want to hire somebody to fill a spot, you're thinking about these things. See, you want to know. What's their thinking style? What are they really good at? What are they drawn to? Okay, let's continue on. Now, to the right hemisphere of the brain, that's a whole different deal, right? If you're left brain oriented in either one of the quadrants I just mentioned to you, you like tangible, specific, tactile things, right? But if you are a right brain oriented person, you're attracted to human interaction and relationships, or concepts and theories and abstract ideas. Some people call it concept leadership, I guess. Now, everybody knows that when you open a business and you need things to get going and start selling some product, we've got to have a salesperson, right? And the salesperson is driven by mostly in the right hemisphere of the brain. They do some deduction and some logic, but generally speaking, it's all about creating an emotion, a feeling, a good vibe. You like to hang around with customers, and you could get to know them so well if you're a salesperson, driven again by the right hemisphere of the brain, where you can actually finish their sentences. You know where they're coming from and where they're going. You can kind of jump in and say, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh, man, yeah, you understand me. That's what I'm thinking. So that's one part of the right hemisphere of the brain. Now, I've mentioned 3 quadrants now. The green and the blue on the left hemisphere of the brain, and of course the one that I've just mentioned right now, which is the red color-coded area of the human brain that helps us become good salespeople. But there's another section of the brain called yellow, the yellow segment of the brain. Everybody has it, but it doesn't, the kinds of thinking that come out of people that kind of like being yellow brains, shall we say, it doesn't always fit into the system, the business, the corporation, the way we do things around here. 1, 2, 3, production, efficiency. See? The yellow brains are the people that are bored with whatever's happening in the immediate present in front of them. They're jumping out here and way out here and saying, what's it going to be by 2040? How are we going to be operating in 2040? And what could we do now that would be, kind of like that would give us a big edge, that would give us some kind of a, cool conceptual leap way ahead of everybody else? And we'd be talking at a certain level, and the customers will love it because it's so cool and high level and so on. Bam, we'd have a huge sales revolution. That's a yellow brain talking right there, right? They're wonderful people to have involved as you begin to do your strategy, your innovation, you're thinking about the future. What do we need to do to stand out? You've all heard about the brand experience, the notion of when you have a consumer product and you kind of feel better. It's not just that it got it done, but you kind of like, wow, that was cool, man. That went really well, right? That's yellow brain influence in the whole value creation process. So what's interesting about this, to kind of wrap up this segment of WowBiz Nebraska, and thank you for watching, I just want you to know that there is, how do I say, profundity here. If you really want to have the right people in the right position, right, to be able to create value for your customer, you got to have the right thinking style in the right situation, right? So I'm sharing that with you right now. This is very helpful and insightful. And but the most important thing today in this portion of our show is the new importance of the yellow brain. All right? I've written essays about this again and again. I used to call it the ascension of yellow brains, which implies, that they're becoming important now. The CEO, the boss is saying, what are you thinking here? We're doing this and this and this. It's okay. We're making a little money, but where are you coming from? Let's hear. And what do you think customers are thinking? What are they feeling? What are they feeling? Very interesting idea. And finally, these people that have this interesting skill, sometimes you see it in the creative end of the business, but you don't see too many engineers that are yellow brains. You don't see many accountants or attorneys that are yellow brains. They're taught to be logical, deductive, and like mechanics, by the way, tactile. It's got to be a tangible outcome that I can see and understand, where when you're working with yellow brains, by the time you're working with them and comprehending their vision of the future, they've already linked themselves to another concept, some kind of idea over here or over there, and they are reinventing your company, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, they're doing it, and they do it well. So there you go. 4 quadrants inside of the human brain. Fascinating thing. Think about it. You can actually tap into it by going to the Herman Dominance, Thinking Dominance, Herman Thinking Dominance. You'll see it on the website, Herrman. Ned Herman is the guy that kind of came up with this with Roger Sperry. Fascinating, insightful, and will give you, most importantly, give you an edge. Give you an edge when you're trying to attract workers to your company and bring them into your workforce. Now you know who they really are. No matter what they say, how they think tells you how they're going to behave and what they're capable of doing for your company. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. This is WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you so very much for listening today. This is exciting information, and we have some more exciting information at the back end of the show, and I'm going to share that with you. You're going to learn things you don't know. When we talk about the state of Nebraska, as you know, economic development's a hot topic here. There's a struggle going on. For 20 years, since 2002, different political figures and departments have been trying to figure out how do we attract and retain bright young people, top-tier knowledge workers. I've got the solution for them and for you. All right. We'll get back to that in a minute. We do want you to know that this particular show is brought to you by a new service, a new program, a new product called Trust TV. It's very interesting. Now, here's the question. We'll keep this very short. When a vendor comes into your office or your home, a plumber maybe, and they're doing something and they're working, there's two ways of reacting to this situation. You have to kind of just give all of your trust and to this person. You have no idea if they're any good. They don't know how they behave. I don't know anything, right? Just fix it. Maybe, right? And how much is it going to be again? Oh, you see, there's a lack of trust that we just have to just let it go, right? Very, very difficult to do that for many people. Many people want to know, what are your credentials? Exactly what are you doing right now? And then what are you doing now? You know, all that, right? People have different ways of making decisions about other vendors, other people, but they need something to give them some sense, some rationale. Should we choose this guy or should we choose this guy? I don't know. Now, we're going to solve that problem. Trust TV solves that problem. Trust TV is an 8-minute video interview. Now, this is a very interesting thing because you talk to the owners of these companies, and let me tell you, you get them to kind of open up and relax a little bit. They give you heart and soul. They tell you, well, you know, when I was 18 and this did this, and it kind of changed my whole life, and my dad said this, and now here I am doing this, and I had a person tell me I was great at this or that, so I went in that direction, and now we're really good, right? We're really good. Trust TV. So if somebody's watching that, right, on the web, and they see this interview, and they find out what the values of this person are. It's not just, well, you know, call us, we're really great. All of a sudden, we know what the owner of the company really believes and what moved them, right? Emotionally and everything else, psychologically, all of this to become this company who is ready to service you in this particular way. Credibility is key because, frankly, there's so much cynicism, polarization, division. Nobody trusts anybody else. I don't know about that guy. I don't believe that number. The media, that's all hype. We don't trust anybody anymore. And yet it's incredibly, we live complicated lives. We need people that we can hire and that we can trust from the very beginning. And that's why Trust TV is such a critical and valuable. And by the way, the interviewer is a pro. He's done it for many, many years. He works with the business owners in advance, so we talk about how we're going to do it. It's a very interesting thing that Trust TV can change the real nature and flow of your selections, your finances, your preferences, the person you refer to somebody else. I learned about this guy. I stumbled across him. I heard about him. He's so funny and he really believes in what he's doing. You should hire him. Trust TV, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. It's on the web. Check out Trust TV. All right. Very interesting organization taking advantage of what's going on in our economy today and, of course, the importance of digital communications, but really talking about human emotions. Therefore, Trust TV means a lot. All right. Now, there's a very interesting thing going on here in the state of Nebraska. Everybody knows a little bit about this. They think they know something about it. We're going to devote pretty much the rest of this show to this general idea. And I want to try to wrap up with a clever little metaphor. As we know, storytelling is extremely important. extremely important, and metaphors and symbols really help us all get through the logic and assimilate it in the right hemisphere of our brain, as we talked earlier. So right now, here in the state of Nebraska, the Governor Pillen has pulling together some type of a committee, a number of people, including university people and community colleges and business owners and associations, nonprofits, certainly a few unicameral senators, and is trying to get them all together so that he personally can understand what the dynamics of brain drain are. Why do they leave? That whole thing. How do we get them back? As we all know, Tony Goins at the Department of Economic Development had a huge marketing wave just 2-3 years ago. Kind of went all around the Midwest looking for people who had left Nebraska for one reason or another. They had a job, mortgage, kids, all that, and trying to get them together around other states. And he got a lot of advertising awareness, a lot of PR, but I'm not sure hardly anybody actually said, okay, Tony, we're going to come back. We're coming back to Nebraska. So it was a struggle. It's a real struggle. Now Governor Pillen is inherited, because he knows this. See, this is something that people go, oh yeah, I've heard of brain drain, it happens, all that. But what we're not understanding is that population drives taxes. And already, by the way, taxes are an issue in Nebraska. They have been for years. There's all kinds of tax reform going on, always discussing, putting over here, more taxes over here, et cetera. It goes on endlessly. But the bottom line is, our population is flat. It hasn't grown much, and certainly in the what we'll call the younger demographics, it's definitely getting less and less. So here's the deal. I've told my audience before. I'm going to say it again. 91% of all young employees say that innovation is like the key thing, right? To work for somebody, to be an employee, they kind of want to be in a company where there's something new going on, right? New products, new systems, new partnerships, new leadership styles, new technology, new things. New things. And yet, if you talk to researchers, and I've talked to a few, they say that Nebraska is actually ranked number 46 out of 50 states insofar as our ability to innovate. Now that's based on patents and venture capital and some other variables, but think about that for just a minute. Just absorb that statistic. I can't stop talking about it because it's so glaring, and it's got to be put in front of all these people, and they're all going to sit there and say, so it's not about compensation. Yeah, money helps, of course. It's not about this or that or insurance or remote learning or no, none of that. I mean, it has some variables, but the bottom line is, if your company, now I'm not talking about government agencies and so on, I'm talking about individual companies in Broken Bow, Alliance, Nebraska City, all over the state, South Sioux City. If your company isn't innovating, launching maybe new products and services, for instance, and doing so, and then by the way, publicizing it, magazine, newspaper, this particular show, whatever it is, I don't care. So we have to keep trying to do new things. Now, why is it so difficult for in Nebraska's business community to do new things? Think about that for just a second. Well, doing new things means taking a risk, huh? And if your employees see the boss says, we're going to try this, and you take a risk, they think that if it doesn't work out or it's not really good, that somehow they'll lose credibility with their employees and so on. It's just ridiculous. This state, listen to me now, I've got an interesting document called The Conscious Evolution of Nebraska. I'd love to share it with you. You should ask it, track me down on Nebraska. The Conscious Evolution of Nebraska. It's a very interesting kind of a manifesto, as I said to you before. It's written passionately because the secret is clear, right? And the secret is tough, and the secret is expensive. So, oh my God, we have to change the way we operate. We have to change our mindset. We have to be willing to try new things. We have to be willing to set up individual innovation teams that are separate from our daily operational teams, so they don't get mixed up with each other and screw anything up there. But we've got to go ahead and do that. We should actually be launching maybe 2 or 3. And oh, by the way, before we do the innovation, we should probably do some research. We should do some focus groups or pull some employees together and find out, what do you guys think? What are we missing here? What should we be doing? What's everybody else? What do you hear out there? What are they doing? That's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I'm talking about right here. We got to do all of it. And then, oh, by the way, they say, by the way, this is all nice stuff, Nice stuff. I'm 23, and I got an MBA, and I'm pretty happy about everything. But I like the fact that you guys are really trying to do some cool things in your business and so on. But have you guys actually noticed downtown? I'm not talking about Omaha and Lincoln right now, obviously, but any other community in the state. Have you guys realized, are we supposed to live there? Are we supposed to live in that area? Really? Come on. The idea of downtown is to be the core, right? The heart and soul. This is where people come together. There's density. You meet people. You have coffee, have a drink, whatever it is. I don't know. And then you get up in the morning, and instead of polluting the world, you walk 3 blocks down the street of downtown Beatrice or Fairbury or Crete or Nebraska, whatever it is, and you do your work. You enjoy doing your work. Or you get online and you work on Zoom or Teams all day long, and you make some really valuable contributions, and then you go downstairs and have a beer with some other people. But whatever it is, you're not going to the suburbs of Crete, Nebraska, right? You're not going to go out there. That's not how you're going to operate. That isn't now all of a sudden the city council is going, yeah, I guess we didn't really think about that, right? So what should it look like? What should it be? Well, there's a whole architectural style that attracts these young people. Think about that. There's a lot to learn, a lot to finance, a lot to do. And if you just shrug your shoulders, you're succumbing to mediocrity and inertia. Now you say, well, how come somebody doesn't stay here and enjoy the good life? The good life is going away because there's not going to be enough taxes to support all the features and benefits associated with the good life. Right? I mean, it's sad. It's really a difficult thing. Now, we've got generational issues and so on. We've got a lot of things that we have to attack. But most of the things that are being discussed in other committees and groups and so on are not coming to grips with the psychological dimension that I just mentioned right now, which is, I want to be where the action is. I want to be around innovative departments and innovative people, and I want to help roll out new things, and I want to learn from all these new things. I want to do that, and then I want to go have a great time downtown if it actually looked like a decent place that I would want my family or friends to come see. All right. So this is a massive issue, a bigger issue, and a more psychological. I mean, we're talking about style now. All right. You don't hear a lot of Nebraskans talk about style as a key component, in the equation that's going to provide resilience, revitalization in the state of Nebraska. It's really incredible. Now you have business owners at the same time that are going, Lynn, this is interesting, pulling people in and so on. I get where you're coming from, but the fact of the matter is, I don't have enough people working for me right now. And I don't know what to do about that. They seem to be leaving about as fast as they arrive. About 50% of all workers, I don't care if it's a factory or retail, whatever, 50% are unhappy, sad. 18% are sorrowful and in despair. I mean, come on. Sadness, man. Think about this. The single most positive element in a workforce today is the fact that the boss, your immediate boss, or maybe the boss's boss, recognizes your work and gives you a solid pat on the back and expresses interest in who you are uniquely. It's what I call humaneering, all right? Actually caring about people as human beings. It's a very interesting idea now that we are flipping around the whole culture thing. I know people, very few by the way, that carry around a little booklet in their pocket. And they pull out the booklet, right? They flip it open, and there's all these very interesting, short, little succinct, I don't want to call them rules, that's not really principles, right? If somebody is in this kind of trouble, you must step in right here. You must help that person regardless of whether it fits into your schedule or your operating procedure. Okay. All I have to do is read this right here. Everybody in the entire room has got to raise their hand and say, I will do this. I will do this. And it goes on and on and on. In fact, you might want to check out an interesting new culture development model called Future Force. What a great word. What a great word. We talk about workforce, Future Force, built to revitalize, redefine what it means to be a human being in your office or in your workforce. You know, as I wrap up here, it's a very interesting thing. Don't forget about Future Force, by the way, but I got to tell you, years ago, somebody took me aside and said, you know what, everybody's got to have a personal brand. I think your personal brand is Lynn. They were talking to me now. The entrepreneur of meaning. This is what somebody told me out of the blue. I was so taken by it, you see. Entrepreneur of meaning. And it really does resonate with me because helping companies find meaning in their work and meaning in their brand and meaning in the heart and soul of the customer they serve, that's not bad. Now, let's wrap up our show for today and tell you about the book that inspired me in this particular idea. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. It's a book written by Viktor Frankl, brilliant man, an incredible story about an individual's life purpose. Think about this now with your workforce, life purpose, when their family, their everyday life, and all their personal belongings are stripped away. Stripped away. This was during World War II in a death camp. Viktor Frankl was there and he found a way to be happy, to be free inside. He understands man's search for meaning, and that actually has great relevance when you talk about business, creating value, relationships, and the fact that our world that we occupy as business owners and salespeople, all entrepreneurs, we're changing right now, and the world of the notion of meaning plays a key central role. There you go. Our unusual show today here on WowBiz Nebraska. We always try to give you something original, something special, something unique that you can share easily with somebody. Remember, this does go up on YouTube as well. I'd appreciate it if you'd click on it, find the show. This would be WowBiz Nebraska 96, I believe, or 97, excuse me, and share it with the people that you most respect, the people that you want to do business with, maybe the people that you want to bring in to your workforce. This is WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Thank you so much for watching. We'll speak with you again.